The following program, The Lightning Strike, is sponsored by Mohammed Fahim, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of NewsWeb Radio Company or its management.
Get ready to be jolted out of the ordinary and into a world where conversations are charged with intensity and facts. The Lightning Strike Talk Radio with your host, Mohammed Fahim, broadcasting live from the heart of the city on Chicago's Progressive Talk Radio, WCPT 820 AM. Welcome to a radio show that charges through the airwaves with an electricity like no other. Here's your host, Mohammed Fahim.
Good Sunday morning, folks. Welcome to the Lightning Strike. Mohammed Fahim here with the Lightning Strike Talk Radio Show. We come every Sunday morning, 9 to 10 on WCPT, 820 AM, and worldwide on heartlandsignal.com. With me in the studios today, Ken DeLuke.
Howdy, folks.
And joining us on the phone is Reed Bible from Nevada. Reed is a permanent fixture on the show now, part of our team. Good morning, Reed. Okay, I am not hearing Reed. Dylan.
There he goes.
Connected. Okay, Reed. Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, it couldn't be any better. The weather here is great. I heard it's not too bad in Chicago today either. So.
Okay, so Reed, you need to speak up a little bit. Your volume is a little bit low. But in today's show, folks, we got the Will County Executive, Jennifer Burton-Tarrant, joining us. Good morning, Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Good morning, Mohammed, and hello, Reed. Been a long time. Good to hear both your voices.
Good morning, Jennifer. Good to hear you, too.
Yep, Reed joined our team about a month back now, so he's been a source of a lot of good information and brings in some great experience to the team. Jennifer, we are lucky to have him on the team. And
wonderful.
Mark Ferry actually brought Reed to connect with us.
Oh, very good. Mark is a good friend to all of us, isn't he?
He sure is, and he's been part of the show from the beginning when we did this about a year and a half now. Man, time flies. So, Jennifer, Will County, thank you so much for joining us. What is happening in Will County? And one of the questions that I really wanted to start off with, because we have like 10 minutes, and I know that you've got a lot of things to catch up on today. Trump's crazy antics, all these EOs and all of that, has there been any impact at all on Will County for us?
Well, yes, of course. And first, thank you for having me. I really appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to come in. Obviously what's going on in Washington is just horrendous. You know, we're talking about a constitutional crisis here, and I know Reed could probably address that way better than I can. But some of the actions that President Trump is taking is just horrendous, and absolutely, you know, we are going to feel it here in Will County. We are already starting to see some of our grants be pulled back, especially in our health department. We've lost about $1 million, I'm told, in support there. We know we're nervous about our community development, and those are the programs that we have at the county that provide services for families. And then, of course, our workforce development. It's critical that we keep folks working, and what our president is doing is literally firing people on a daily basis. So we are being overly vigilant here in the county, and we're making sure that we are keeping an eye on what is going on, because our goal here is to protect our residents and make sure that we do not stop any of the services that they so rightly deserve.
Yeah, and he and his team, Jennifer, seem to be hell-bent on going after unions also. I don't know what this guy has got wrong in his craw over there. Anytime that you get up in the morning, you hear something crazy come out of his mouth.
Yeah, yes. I think, I don't know if people are even in shock anymore. You know, we hear it about our labor unions. I mean, and my background is education. The things that are happening to the Department of Education, the EO is coming out there. Obviously, with Kennedy and his comments regarding our friends in our special education world. Everything is just so radical right now, and they are clearly showing their ignorance. They are listening to people who are not experts in the field. They are listening to people who have donated to the President of the United States, and that is a travesty. We are hurting real people every day, and we as constituents, we as residents, we as people need to make sure that we are calling our elected officials, maybe even calling people we normally wouldn't call, to tell them we are watching them and this needs to stop.
Jennifer, that's one of the things that we are doing through the show also every Sunday morning. We started this show to hold our elected representatives accountable and raise awareness among the people that you got to come out and vote. You can't just sit on the sidelines and complain.
Right.
So we are doing a lot of work at the grassroots level to increase our voter participation, especially in Will County, where we are in, because we are based out of here. The problem that I am always facing is people seem to have given up on a lot of these things. I mean, they fall back and say, what can we do? So what would you advise us to do besides calling our elected representatives?
Right. Well, I think part of it is, we know this. This is not a new problem. People get complacent, right? A president is we had the presidential election where people get excited, and then we drop out with most of our local races, right? And we see the number of people coming out, but then we realize how much that impacts us. For me, as an elected official, how I try to keep people engaged is simply by being out there in the community. I don't shy away from being out in the community, right? We have to tell people what we are doing. We have to tell people what the services are in your community. And we have to also talk about what happens if those are taken away. I think we need to do a better job at keeping people active during the in-between cycles, right? We need to keep people engaged. And I know there are several organizations that are now kind of recognizing this. We can't disappear for 2 years and then come back when an election happens. Do I have the golden answer to how to keep people engaged? I don't. But we are really having, as you said, a problem with people feeling like it does not matter. But we all know it does. And it's people like you and Reed and myself to make sure that we have our friends, families, even people we don't know, continually being engaged.
Absolutely.
Jennifer, a quick question. I'm seeing kind of a sea change in the zeitgeist of the American public right now, where we even have Republican congressmen and senators that are starting to wake up to what's going on there. So, I mean, do you see that we're finally moving into a positive direction, addressing the inherent problem that is facing us existentially all?
Well, I sure hope so, right? I watch it and I wonder how can people in his own party watch him dismantle the Constitution and not have the guts to be able to say something? I mean, again, I have a different philosophy a little bit sometimes. I have a record of working across the aisle and with people because I truly believe that's what our constituent wants. But what I can't stand and what I don't tolerate is phoniness. And some of these elected officials are phony. They can say one thing behind the scenes and tell you how they understand, but when they're in public, they throw on their MAGA hat. And it's sickening, and I'm tired of it. And I don't stand for things like that. We need to call people out for what they are doing. And, I'm not a shy person. I can say it politely. I can say it without putting people down. But we need to hold people's feet to the fire and hold them accountable. Enough of I get it behind the scenes, I don't like it either, but, in front, I'm going to play to the crowd. That stuff has to stop.
So, Jennifer, for the listeners out there who are not aware, what does a Will County executive do? What do you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. So every county, we have 102 counties in Illinois. Will County is one of two that have the executive form of government. And what that means is we have two branches. We have the county board that is the legislative branch and votes on policy, and then I serve as the executive branch. I run the department and I enact the policies, make sure I perform the policies that the county board has acted on. So at the state level or the federal level, it's like the legislative branch, and it is. It's the legislative branch and the executive branch. So while other counties may have a county administrator or a county board who runs the county, in Will County we have the county executive, and my responsibility is the day-to-day operation.
So this is an elective position, right?
It is an elected position, though. Yes, it's a countywide elected position.
And how many years is the position good for before you have to rerun for office?
It's every 4 years. Every 4 years.
Okay, so almost like a mayoral election for the villages.
Yes.
Yes,
exactly.
Reed had a question for you. Reed, you had a question for
Yes. I sure did, Jennifer. Speaking as a former member of the legislative party of Will County.
Yeah.
You know, between 2012 and 2017, which was the time that I was on the board, Silver Cross Hospital complex had sat empty, and it finally got demolished in 2017, except for that 60,000 square foot special care pavilion. That I think we'd like to. Talking with friends of mine that are back there in Will County, we'd kind of like to know what is the status of that pavilion as far as delivery service to veterans, and also at that same time we were talking about tax incremental financing a lot. I'm wondering, was that area ever converted to a TIS district, and if so, how are the funds being used these days?
Yeah, no, it is not that. No, it has not been transferred to a TIS. Did you say TIS or TIF?
Yeah, TIF.
Yeah, no, it was not. It was not. Yeah, no, it was not. But I'm glad you asked about the old medical facility at Silver Cross Hospital. As you know, the county decided to buy that facility from Silver Cross. They gave the county a great deal on the building because they built a brand new hospital. When I came in, the board was changing, and back and forth. We had COVID, so things were on pause a little bit. Obviously we had a lot of other things to worry about. A new board came in, and then they couldn't go back and forth about whether they want or not. But I'm happy to say we began this year starting renovations on the old Silver Cross Hospital to make it a Veterans Assistant Commission Center where our veterans can have a one-stop shop. We're going to provide the VAC services that people have come to expect in Will County, but we're focusing on physical well-being, mental well-being as well. We're having serious discussions about temporary housing there as well. So we have places where our veterans can go while we find them permanent housing. And we've been working with Jen Solomon at the VAC very, very well. We're really excited. We're hoping to have this open by, I believe, spring of next year. But we started working on it now.
Fantastic.
Yes.
That sounds
Jennifer,
great. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you so much for joining us. That's all the time we have today this morning.
Yes, fine. Thank you.
We'd love to have you back, whenever you want to share something. Feel free. This is your show, and anytime you're welcome.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. Great to hear your voice, Reed. You guys have a great Sunday.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, folks. That was Jennifer Burton, parent, Will County Executive, joining us to share some information about what's happening in Will County and how the crazy antics of the Trump administration are actually having an impact on the ground. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back on the other side of the break with our person of the week, who is Jean Payne, and Sheila White will be introducing her.